Nirahankritihi, without false ego. Nirmama, without material affection. Cha, and Nirdandva, without duality. Samadrik, seeing equality. Swadrik, seeing himself. Pratyak, turned inward. Prashanta, perfectly composed. Dhi, mind. Dhiraha, sober, not disturbed. Prashanta, calm. Urmihi, whose waves. Eva, like. Udadhi, ocean. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Thus, he gradually becomes unaffected by the false ego of material identity and becomes free from material affection, undisturbed, equal to everyone, and without duality. He could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean unagitated by waves. Please repeat. Thus he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity and became free from material affection, undisturbed, equal to everyone, and without duality. He could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean, unagitated by waves. Anyway, close the door, just lock it up. No more latecomers. Just lock it up. The class is supposed to start at 7:45 and still 8 o'clock. When one's purport by Srila Prabhupada, when one's mind is in full Krishna consciousness and one fully engages in rendering devotional service to the Lord, he becomes just like an ocean unagitated by waves. This very example is also cited in the Bhagavad Gita. One should become like the ocean. The ocean is filled by many thousands of rivers, and millions of tons of its water evaporates into clouds. And yet the ocean is the same unagitated ocean. The laws of nature may work, but if one is fixed in devotional service at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is not agitated, for he is introspective. He does not look outside to material nature, but he looks into the spiritual nature of his existence. With a sober mind, he simply engages in the service of the Lord. Thus, he realizes his own self without false identification with matter and without affection for material possessions. Such a great devotee is never in trouble with others because he sees everyone from the platform of spiritual understanding. He sees himself and others in the right perspective. Niraham kritir nirmamascha nirdanda samadrik sadrik prattak prashanta dhir dhiraha prashantormir ibodadhi. Thus he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity and became free from material affection, undisturbed, equal to everyone, and without duality. he could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean unagitated by waves. এটা সাউন্ড সিস্টেমটা চলছে? মুকুন্দা, can you hear? মুকুন্দা, শুনতে পাচ্ছ ওখানে? Okay, very good. If you can hear, then everybody can hear. So, this is what happened to Kardama Muni. Kardama is too much. তো ঠিক ছিল, তোমায় কি করতে বললো? Kardama Muni was Kardama Muni, the son of Kapil Muni, father of Kapil Muni, wanted to leave home, rather left home and went to the forest for absorbing his mind in the thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this verse is describing how he achieved the perfection of Dhyana Yoga. The perfection of Dhyana Yoga has been described here. Niraham kritir. When one practices Dhyana Yoga, then he becomes completely free from his false ego. The proper execution of Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga frees one from the bondage of false ego. Niraham kritir. And he also became nirmama, without material affection. The word mama means mine. Mama means of me or mine. To think that something belongs to me is called mamata. And nirmama means no such feeling of me and mine. Nirmama, niraham kritir, and then nirdandva. He became free from the duality. Nirdandva is the duality. Duality in the material nature, there is the consideration of duality. Duality is the body, good and bad, which begins from body and soul. Okay, some people are still standing on there. Ask them to come. মন্দিরে ক্লাসের কথা ছিল, কে অ্যানাউন্স করেছিল এখানে ক্লাসটা? মন্দিরে হওয়ার কথা ছিল আজকে। আচ্ছা, আরেকটু এগিয়ে এসো তোমরা, জাস্ট কাম ইন লিটল ক্লোজার। সোমনাথ, তুমি এদিকে চলে এসো, এদিকে অনেকটা জায়গা আছে। মাতাজি ইজ ইয়াম, কাম দাস অন দ্যাট সাইড। I can understand why Mohan Rupa is late, because he has to do the deity backup service. But why Krishnarchan is late? Huh? You also are doing deity backup? Then why are you late in the class? Okay. Anyone else outside? Who is? বাইরে আর কেউ আছে? একজন আছে, আসতে দাও তাহলে। बस ठीक है, अब तक इसके बाद और कोई नहीं आएगा। So, nirahankritir, nirmamascha, nirdanda. Nirdanda means free from duality. The material nature is a place of duality. Why? Because we are in the center with our body consciousness. That is why body, whatever is pleasing to the body is desirable, what is not pleasing to the body is undesirable. What is in the body, in relation to the body's perception, there is heat and cold, good and bad, pleasure and pain. Always there is a duality. This way. And that is what the duality of this material nature, which is known as Dvaita Bhava. But in the spiritual platform, there is no duality. Why in the spiritual platform there is no duality? Because in spiritual platform everything is perceived according to Krishna's perception. Not according to my perception, but Krishna's perception. Therefore, everything is good, because everything is in relation to Krishna. Krishna wants it to be night, it's night. So I accept it. Krishna wants it to be day, I accept it. Krishna wants me to enjoy, I accept it. Krishna wants me to suffer, I accept it. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Seeing everything in the light of Krishna's desire. But in the material nature, what happens? We see things from our perspective. My likes and dislikes. I like it. I don't like it. It is pleasing to me. It is not pleasing to me. So that is the nature of the material nature, which is material nature means, what is the definition of material nature, or what is the consideration of material nature? The material nature is the nature where I am the center. Therefore I am seeing everything from the light of my. Now, for me, like I am not the controller, although I want to control, if I could control, then I would always have uninterrupted happiness. But that never happens because I am not the controller. Although I do not want suffering, suffering comes. Distress comes. Pain comes. I want pleasure. I want happiness. I want enjoyment. I want pleasure. But do I get that? No, because I am subjected to the law of material nature. Things are not happening here according to my desire. Things are happening here according to Krishna's desire. Therefore, when one becomes Krishna conscious, then one accepts everything. Of course, you saw that I didn't accept when you came late. Because that is it's not my consideration. It is a general consideration. There should be some standard. For your benefit, there should be some rules and regulations. And so, when one achieves perfection, then like he sees things in the light of Krishna all the time. And when he suffers, he sees, well, Krishna wants me to suffer. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. And material consciousness is why I am suffering. Immediately call the doctor. I got a pain. Immediately get medicine. It's become too hot. Immediately get an air conditioner. It's become too cold. Immediately get a room heater. So this is a material consciousness, whereas Krishna consciousness is, Krishna wants it to be like this. That's why I have to accept it. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. But does it mean that a devotee is like stone without any feeling? No. He has his intelligence and he makes the necessary adjustment also when it is necessary. He doesn't see things that Krishna wants it. He has another consideration for a devotee. That's the difference between a yogi and a devotee. That's the difference between one in Shantaras, as we were discussing the other day. That's the difference between one who is in Shantaras or those who are in Dasya, Sakhya and Vatsalya. Those who are in Shantaras, they will just accept everything. Okay? Rain, sun, he will sit there in meditation and tolerate everything. But those who are in other mellows, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhur, what will be their consideration? Their consideration will be service. Their consideration will be service. I have to cook for Krishna and there is no rice. So I can't say, well, Krishna wants it. It's Krishna's desire. No. If there is no rice, I have to go and get the rice to make the bhoga for Krishna. If there is no vegetable, let me go and get the vegetable for Krishna. That is the difference between a yogi and a devotee. Yogi is simply concerned about his own liberation, his own benefit. Whereas a devotee is concerned about Krishna's service. So this is how the material, there is a difference between the material nature and spiritual, material attitude and spiritual attitude. Then this person, when a yogi achieves perfection, he again becomes samadrik. He looks at everyone with equal vision. Again, as a devotee, you can't do that. You have to make a discrimination. Ishvare tadanineshu balisheshu dvitsatsucha. You have to see who is a devotee, who is innocent, and who is offensive. And you react accordingly towards them. Do you treat a devotee and a demon the same way? Does a devotee treat a demon and a devotee the same way? No. He doesn't. He makes a difference. For a devotee, he has friendship. And demon, get out of here. I don't want to see your face. That is the attitude of a devotee. So devotee is samadrik in that way. And swadrik, he sees himself. A yogi sees himself as a spirit soul. And a devotee sees himself as a servant of Krishna. Both of them are seeing themselves, but there is a difference of perception. And pratyak means turned, his consciousness is turned inward, a yogi. And what does a devotee do? Devotee's consciousness is not inward but Krishna conscious. Devotee's consciousness is centered around Krishna. Pratyak. That is how he is. And who is inside? Pratyak means internally. Who is the innermost? Who is at the innermost core of our heart? Krishna. First the jiva and then Krishna. When we see, if we go inside our heart, first we will see ourselves as a spirit soul. But then when you go deeper, then you will see Krishna. So devotee is also pratyak, turned inward, but devotee's perception is even deeper. And prashanta dheer, he is prashanta, he is very peaceful, perfectly composed. Dhi, his mind is perfectly composed. Dhira is sober, not disturbed. Prashanta and Prashanta, Urmi. Urmi means waves. Udadhi, like the waves in an ocean. Like in ocean there are waves, but the ocean is not agitated by that. So, through the description, we can also see the devotees. Although this description is about Kardama Muni, who was a yogi. A yogi, when he achieves perfection, he achieves that state. The Nirahankritir, Nirmama, Nirdanda, Samadrik, Swadrik, Pratyak, Prashanta Dhir and Prashanta Urmir Ibo Udadhi. He is like an ocean unagitated by waves. He is unagitated by waves. Things will happen, but he is not affected by that. So, our consideration is not to become a yogi. In that sense, our consideration is to become a devotee. Devotees don't go to meditate in the ocean, in the forest, or the mount in the Himalayan mountains. Devotees' consideration is simply to serve Krishna. And wherever it is conducive to serve, devotee is there. Anukullasya sankalpa, we discussed the other day. Whatever is favorable to Krishna consciousness, devotee accepts it. Wherever there is service, it is where the devotees are. Now, if one can render his service nicely in the forest, he will do that. But if the service is in the cities, in the most busy part of the city, devotee will go there. That is the attitude of a devotee. He will do whatever is necessary. Devotee, his main concern is to serve Krishna. And by serving Krishna, he achieves all the yoga perfection. For example, yogi turns his consciousness inwardly. When a devotee is offering everything to Krishna and doing everything for Krishna, where is his consciousness? Inward. A devotee is, because he is always absorbed in Krishna, pleasing Krishna, serving Krishna, does he have mamata? Does he ever think that something belongs to me? Because he knows that everything belongs to Krishna, he never tries to establish his false proprietorship. Nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to Krishna. Idam Krishnaya na mama. This belongs to Krishna, it's not mine. So this is how a devotee becomes free from this mamatta bodh or mamata. Mamatta bodh, mine, the feeling of mine. So you see how naturally all these qualities will develop in a devotee if he is properly situated in devotional service. Nirahankriti. The beginning part was the Nirahankriti. No more ahankar. What is ahankar? Ahankar is the false ego. What is the meaning of the word false ego? False ego means wrong identity. What is our wrong identity? The wrong identity is I am this body. And everything belong to the body is mine. See, nirahankriti is leading to, ahankar is leading to mamata. My false identity is leading to the false conception of mine. So when we become engaged in serving Krishna, is there any room for ahankar or false identity? Then you become situated in real identity. Jiver sarup hoy, Krishna Nityadas. So Nityadas is the real identity. I am this body is my false identity. Everything belongs to me is mamata. Everything belongs to Krishna is nirmama. Nirmama and then nirdandva, duality. As I mentioned earlier, is there any room for duality in Krishna consciousness? Everything you see in relation to Krishna. So everything is absolute. Is there any duality in Krishna consciousness? No. Because everything is done in the service of Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna. And everything is seen from the light of Krishna's perspective. Then Samadrik, how is he Samadrik? He is Samadrik because he is trying to make everyone into devotees. Those who are devotees already, he is very happy with them. Those who are not devotees, he tries to make them devotees. And those who are offensive, he waits for the time when their consciousness will turn towards Krishna. And for the time being, he doesn't disturb them. Because if he goes to preach to an offender, he'll become more offensive. Like you all can consider that, like at some point you became favorable to Krishna consciousness. So your situation brought you to that point, or to make you favorable to Krishna consciousness. Prior to that, if somebody went and preached to you, what would you have said? Oh, look at this Hare Krishna. Ask him to get out of here. क्यों आया है हमको सताने के लिए? So this is how we always have to wait for the right situation. Like we go and preach, but when we see that somebody is not favorable, we don't waste our time. Because it will happen. Even the demons, even Ravan became a devotee. But he had to wait for 2 more yugas. In Treta Yuga he is Ravan, in Dwapar Yuga he is Shishupal, and then in Kali Yuga he became Jagai. So, became a devotee. So by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, everyone will become a devotee. We have to. So this is how we maintain our Samadrik and Swadrik. We see ourselves as the servants of Krishna. And Pratyak, devotee's consciousness is not dwelling in the external material nature. He is always meditating on what Krishna wants. He is not seeing things as they're outside, but internally he is meditating and externally he is making that adjustment. What does Krishna want? It's 4 o'clock, now Krishna wants to wake up. So, wake up Krishna. It's 4:30, Krishna wants Mangalarati. So this is how a devotee's life rotates around Krishna's desire. And Krishna is very pleased with the devotees because Krishna knows, Krishna sees that they are not interested about their own benefit. Devotee doesn't want his own benefit. Devotee is simply concerned about Krishna's pleasure. Do you know how Garuda became Krishna's Bahan, Krishna's carrier? Garuda's mother became enslaved, became the slave of her co-wife, Kadru. Although they were sisters, but they were married to the same husband, Kashyapa Muni, and from Binata came Garuda, and from the other wife Kadru came the snakes. And Kadru's and Binata, one day Kadru and Binata were looking at the setting sun, and they got into a kind of a debate among them, disagreement about the color of Surya's horses. And Kadru said the color of the Surya's horses are black. And Binata said, no, it's white. And so then they got into they had a condition that if you are right, I'll become your slave. Kadru just told Binata, if you are right, if the color of the horses of sun is white, then I will become your slave. And then when Kadru went and consulted her sons, they said actually the color of sun's horses are white. So then Kadru said, wow, then do something about it. I made a big mistake, I made a big blunder. So the snake said, okay. So before the sun rises, they went and covered the body of the horse, Surya's horses, with, they just wrapped around the thing, and from a distance it looked like black. And so as a result of that, Binata became Kadru's slave. And Garuda also, the slave's son, also became a slave. And they used to torment them. They used to always order, do this for me, sir, do that for me. The sons want the snakes used to ride on Garuda's back. Take us unto this place, that place. And Garuda had to fly and do that. Take them to different places as a slave. So one day he asked his mother, Mother, why do they treat us like that? So mother told the whole story, what actually happened. So then next day Garuda went to the snakes and he told them, look, tell me how I can free my mother and myself from your slavery. So the snake said, if you can bring the nectar from heaven and give it to us, then you'll be free. So Garuda said, fine. So Garuda just went to heaven. And the demigods fought with Garuda. Garuda single-handedly defeated all the demigods. And he went to where the Amrit, the nectar, was kept. And he found that there was a chakra is guarding the thing. No one can enter into that region. Because it's so sharp that if anybody came, and it's kind of, this chakra is made of all kinds of weapons, like just the touch of it will destroy them. Garuda began to wonder what to do now, how to go in. So Garuda reduced himself to a very small entity. And then he entered through the hole of the chakra, small hole. He entered into that area. There he found there were two snakes guarding the nectar. And they were shooting poison. Just the glance is actually poisonous. So Garuda with his wings threw dust on the eyes of the snakes, and they just had to shut their eyes. And in the meantime, Garuda took the nectar, pot of nectar, and just flew away. Indra saw Garuda is taking the nectar away. So he hurled the Vajra. Nothing happened to Garuda. Garuda just let one feather go from his body. And he told Indra, Indra, this Vajra cannot do anything to me. But because of my respect to Dadichi, with whose bone Vajra has been made, I just let one feather go. And at that time Vishnu came. And Vishnu, see, Garuda got the nectar, but he did not drink the nectar. So that is what pleased Vishnu. And he came to him and told him, Garuda, I am so pleased with you, because you didn't drink the nectar yourself. Although you had the nectar, everybody wants this nectar. Even the demigods want the nectar. But you did not take it. You are simply concerned about your duty. Your stepbrothers wanted it to release your mother, so you just concerned about delivering it to them. So ask me for some boon. I have been so very pleased with you. So Garuda said, then let me remain on top of your chariot all the time. So that's why Vishnu's chariot is known as Garuda Dhaj, where Garuda is on the dhaja, on the flag of the chariot. So Vishnu said, ask for another boon. He said, let me be immortal and inconceivably powerful without even taking nectar. He granted. So then Garuda said, you gave me the boons, so now you ask some boon from me. I want to give you some boon. So Vishnu said, then you become my carrier. So that is how Garuda became Vishnu's carrier. Do you want to know what happened after that?
Yes.
Indra requested Garuda. Indra actually at that time, when thunder became unaffected, then he said, Garuda, I am very impressed with your strength. I want to be your friend. Garuda said, fine, I am also your friend. So he said, then please don't give this nectar to the serpents. Because serpents, snakes, by nature they are envious and they are very harmful. They are full of poison. So if you give them the nectar and if they become immortal, then they'll be, the whole world, whole creation will come to an end. So don't give them the nectar, please. So Garuda said, look, I have committed to them that I will bring this nectar to them to free my mother from a bondage of slavery. Then Indra said, okay, you take the thing, you give it to them. And then you tell them to go and take a bath, because before getting nectar you have to be pure. And when they will go to take their bath, I will steal the pot of nectar. So Garuda said, okay, I'll do that. So Garuda took the pot of nectar, gave it to them, and he said, now the condition has been fulfilled. You wanted nectar to free my mother and myself, so please release us. So they said, fine. And when they're just about to drink that, then Garuda said, no, don't drink now. You're going, before you drink nectar, to get its full benefit, you have to be pure. So go take your bath first. Don't try to drink nectar in a dirty state. So they accepted Garuda's condition or advice. And in the meantime, Garuda placed the nectar on kusha grass. There was some kusha grass, so he'll place the nectar there. And when the snakes went to take the bath, then Indra stole the pot of nectar. And when they came back, they found that the pot of nectar is gone. And they understood that just as their mother deceitfully enslaved Vinata, so in a deceitful way, like they couldn't complain, condition has been fulfilled, now they are free. So they have started to lament. And they thought that maybe some little drop of nectar must have fell on the kusha grass. So they started to lick the kusha grass with their tongue. And as a result of that, kusha grass is actually very sharp. As a result of that, their tongue got cut into 2 pieces. That's why the snakes have got a split tongue. Hare Krishna, Gaur Premanande, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Does anybody have any question?
Thank you very much for a nice class. You mentioned the snakes are very envious. Is that scorpion also comes in that category?
Yeah.
You have to be very careful.
Right. Snakes and scorpions.
And also, it's also said that we can kill them.
Yeah. Snakes and scorpions can be killed because they're so envious. Yes? Huh? Spiders. It depends whether it's a star spider or... All the spiders are not envious, are not poisonous. Main thing is that things that are poisonous, they can be killed.
সব সাপের তো বিষ নেই, কিছু কিছু সাপ আছে খুব কম বিষ, কাটে না, ঘরে ঘুরে বেড়ায়, ওদেরকে দেখাশোনা মারতে হবে না?
No, non-poisonous snake should be killed. Only poisonous one. Yes, Krishna Chand.
The snakes are envious, but sometimes humans tend to be more envious than even snakes. It can be, when we see the words today. So, how is it that, snakes are meant to be envious, but humans could be more than this?
Yeah, there's a verse that says that Sharpa krura khala krura Sharpat krura tara khala Mantroshadhi basho sharpa khalo kena nivarjati. This snakes are wicked and envious, and so are the people, some people who are wicked and envious. Now, the envious person is worse than a snake, because a snake can be tamed by mantra and medicine. But who can tame a envious person? So we can, at the same time, the human being shouldn't be killed. Human birth is very special. Somebody may be envious today, but still he may become a devotee tomorrow. Right? So since human body provides such an opportunity, that's why it has been said that human beings shouldn't be killed. Unless there is some like grievous offense or sin, crime committed by him. Then only a king can give death sentence, not otherwise. We can't take the law in our hands.
These qualities that are mentioned in this verse, all this Prasanta or Varivodati and all that stuff, all these are actually developed at what stage? Like Mantana stage and Vilmana stage?
You see, for a devotee, its main consideration is that the devotee already transcended that stage. If you take it that way, like if you take a natural progression, karma kanda, jnana kanda, bhakti. So the perfection of jnana kanda, instructions of the Vedas, which is liberation, leads to liberation, is yoga samadhi. And it is after yoga samadhi that comes to the platform of devotion, bhakti. Therefore Prabhupada often used to mention that when one becomes a devotee, it has to be understood that he has surpassed all those stages. Now, in normal condition, when one comes to the platform of devotion, we have to understand that he has already achieved the yoga perfection. That means he has already gone through these stages. And then his involvement is not in this platform. His involvement is in the spiritual platform. He is not in the material nature anymore. A devotee is in the spiritual nature because he is engaged in devotional service. But by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, we have received devotion unconditionally. Like it was ahaituki. No reason why we could get that. We never performed yoga. We didn't perform karma kanda, sacrifices and things. We didn't really have any qualification to receive that. Therefore, like we may not recognize that what platform or platform of devotional service is so lofty, so elevated. Therefore, the first stage that we have to go through is the stage of practice, sadhana bhakti. We are already in the platform of devotion, which is beyond all that. And we are practicing. And by practicing, when you achieve perfection, then we will get the full benefit of pure devotional service, which is Krishna Priya. So as you were saying, like whether it is in Kanishta, Uttam or Madhyam, like answer will be a devotee who is practicing it. If he continues to practice without deviation, we have to understand that he has already transcended that platform, this platform. Whether he may be Kanishta or Madhyam or Uttam, even though he may be Kanishta. Therefore Prabhupada used that expression or gave that example of green mango and ripe mango. Prabhupada mentioned that everybody in ISKCON is a pure devotee. And when devotees wonder, how is it possible? Then Prabhupada said that they may not be pure now, but since they are practicing this process, they will become pure. And he says, like the mango, it may be green now, but if it stays in the tree, it will become ripe. It's only a matter of time. So from that we can understand that ISKCON is the institution to make pure devotees all over the world. Whoever practices the process properly will become pure devotee.
Maharaj, it is always mentioned in the scriptures that such and such demon came and they defeated the demigods, such and such powerful entity came and defeated the demigods. So we see that demigods are always kicked out everywhere. So what is the point in calling them demigods?
Because they're demigods. Demigods means they're a type of living entities called devas. The English translation of that is demigod. Because in English, the devatas and Krishna and everybody has been lumped in as demigod, as God. So in order to make the discrimination between God and the devas, Krishna and devas, Prabhupada used the expression demigod. They are not God as such. But they are powerful entities. They are powerful.
Like 9th offense says that we should, in Dashnamrata, there is one offense that we should not preach to Ashraddhalu people. So, should we consider that person as an offender as you mentioned in the we should not disturb
Yeah.
the person?
Yeah. It's like offense. He doesn't have, they are offended. They may not be directly offensive, but they are not prepared to accept it. There is another type is called balish or innocent. The innocent are not ashraddhalu. But the ashraddhalus are who do not have shraddha for Krishna. They may not be so offensive, but they do not have the respect for Krishna. Better to avoid them. Because they don't have shraddha, they are not going to accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. That is the ashraddha. Yeah.
When Garuda asked immortality from Lord Vishnu, so is it the fact that Lord Vishnu gave him the spiritual body like...
Yeah. He got his spiritual. Garuda's body is spiritual.
So how is it that in every pastime of the Lord, he manifests himself in other ways, like the Lord's eternal associates are there always in the spiritual sky. And when Lords comes, then they manifest themselves in different stories like Narayani and Radharani and all. So Garuda is in that category or...
Yeah. Garuda is the carrier. Wherever Lord wants to go, he calls Garuda. Sometimes he also goes without Garuda. But generally he calls Garuda. Vishnu Vahan. Yes?
As you told, devotees are dear mama. They are not attached and affectionate. But if we are attached to the accessories or things which we use for serving Krishna, is it okay?
Yeah, that attachment is not with a feeling of possession. Mamo means mine. Right? The devotees don't develop that attitude that this is mine. Right? That's why it's nirmama. Like for example, say the pujari is taking the paraphernalia to do the arati. Does he think that it is his? He knows that it's an article for Krishna service. So that is his attitude towards that object. You are cooking bhoga for Krishna, right? Do you think it's your? Or when you're cooking for who? Or when you're cooking, when you're offering, and after it is offered, whose is it? Krishna. So that's why devotees are beyond this feeling of mamata, mamatta bodh. Or their devotees are truly nirmama. But at the same time, they take care of Krishna's thing. They take care knowing that this belongs to Krishna. Like for example, a chauffeur, a driver, the car doesn't belong to him. He knows it belongs to the master. But he takes care of the car very nicely. Because he loves his master. Okay, thank you all very much. Yes, yeah, Krishna Abhishek.
Guruji, I want to know is this Ajgar Vritti also comes in Ajgar Vritti, like Madhavendra Puri exhibited Ajgar Vritti.
Ajagar Vritti.
So this also comes in that?
It can come, it depends on what stage. At a very advanced paribrajak stage, one becomes like that. So like a sannyasi, a renunciate, generally used to have 4 stages. Kutichak, Bahudhak, Paribrajak and Paramahamsa. So that at that Paramahamsa stage they can, not Paramahamsa, it's actually Ajagar Vritti will come before Paramahamsa stage. In Paramahamsa stage they are completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. But when it comes, rather Madhavendra Puri stage is Paramahamsa, he is not just Ajagar Vritti. At Paramahamsa stage he would see things as, when it comes to Krishna, comes to him by Krishna's mercy, he will accept it. He won't go out of his way to ask for it. Ajagar Vritti means the difference between Paramahamsa and Ajagar. Ajagar would stay at one place. Like 11th canto, 12th canto describes that person, saintly person, who is just sitting at one place, lying at one place. And whatever comes to him, he accepts it. Whereas Madhavendra Puri, he is just traveling from to places of pilgrimage. But he is not asking for anything, asking for his food even. Sometimes a devotee would ask, but at that stage he would ask. He will just accept whatever comes to him naturally. Like when he was in Vrindavan, Krishna personally gave him milk. So this is how Krishna takes care of his devotees.
The second question is, like you said, for a devotee the consideration is which will please Krishna more, which thing will. So how can we understand like which thing will, because sometimes there are situations like, I'm forgetting the name, but there is one pure devotee of Lord. He left his son thinking that Krishna will take care when he was just born and her mother died.
Okay.
So there are situations like one can leave every attachment for service of Krishna, but on the other hand also this is also kind of duty to bring a Krishna conscious character. So how can we understand like which will please Krishna more? Our duty or leaving everything for Krishna?
It will depend from individual to individual. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also left his mother and wife at home and took sannyas. And whereas some people will take the responsibility thinking that this is what Krishna wants. Like for example, Kunti Devi, she considered that my children are young, so I have to take care of them. And King Parikshit took the responsibility of ruling the whole earth planet. although he was a pure devotee. But sometimes somebody, in spite of being a king, will give away everything in order to serve Krishna. Like Gopkumar, when he became the king, he gave up his kingdom ultimately. Whereas Jamunacharya, he accepted the role of a king. So it will depend upon the devotee's personal consideration according to time, place and circumstances. Yes, in Krishna consciousness, you will see that there is no hard and fast rules. It is according to the need of the moment, according to time, place and circumstances, according to the inspiration that one causes to develop in the heart of a devotee. So I'll stop now. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.